Another week, another set of super test vehicles. And today we only have one new one and one which we already know actually from last week, I think, or 2 weeks ago, but it has changed its tier. And with that, I welcome you to this sunny Tuscany day. And I'm sorry for any inconvenience when it comes to the video, but hey, I'm on holiday, so I have to do with what I have at the moment, and I don't have all my setup with me. And it's a little bit windy here. In any case, I want to jump straight into the FV4602 Victorious. And already I've done the German video, and the more I looked at the tank, the more I think, my god, wargaming. This would have been like the perfect tier 11 heavy tank for the Super Conqueror line. And the fact that this is a tier 10 vehicle now just reeks of this is going to be a Christmas loot box tank. Because last time around, not only is it roughly the time where they start testing these or putting them into the game for testing purposes, they also tend to have unique things to them. The BCT-70 with its insane alpha, the Cocodrilo with its untenable turrets, for example. And now the Victorious with its Combat Throttle cooldown, Combat Throttle mechanic, which allows it to have much better gun handling for 20 seconds, much better top speed, much better reverse speed, and 66% higher engine power and faster whole traverse speeds. So we now have a gimmick button, which isn't double shot or wheels or changing the double shot like with the can opener line or rockets on tier 10 or anything below tier 11. Now we also have a gimmick button which allows you to make your tank better without any downsides at all, like worse accuracy or you can't reverse, etc. My god, it's just like you notice the feeling that wargaming wants this tank to sell well, because the stats already are kind of nuts. So I do hope and assume there will be nerfs. It's just like it would work so well as a tier 11. Oh, you get better gun handling during movement. You know what? Good idea. Let's put it at like 40%, and throughout the upgrades you get it to 60%. Oh, it has worse top speed. Well, you only get 20% at the beginning and 30% at the end, and reverse speed 25 at the beginning and 50% at the end of the grind of the modules, you know. It would have worked so well as a tier 11 vehicle. But yeah. One thing I'm really happy about is that apparently the tank is based on reality. It is based on the Project Hotspur, which was like putting a different turret on the Challenger chassis. I'm not entirely sure. Case in point is, though, it is not a fake vehicle in the sense of that this idea is just napkin material. It is actually something which went through certain iterations in design studies. So thumbs up to that. I'm happy about that. So with the Victorious, I've decided to compare it to the Super Conqueror, because go figure, the 60TP and the Schwertwal. Both the Schwertwal and the 60TP being tanked with big guns, because you might have already seen it has 610 alpha and a 140mm gun. Sure, 140 doesn't make that big of a difference when it comes to armor profiles. It's not like the 152.4 of the 60TP, which allows it to overmatch certain 50mm plates or overmatches 50mm plates. However, it is enough that you overmatch anything which has 40mm, which the Super Conqueror cannot. For example, the Stridswagen 103B lower plate. So that is pretty decent. It doesn't have that good DPM, at least that is not IMBA on this tank. It has 2152 DPM, which is the lowest of the bunch. It's even lower than the 60TP. This is due to its 17-second reload time. It still has 610 alpha, it still has 260 base pen, which is pretty decent. However, it only has 313mm of APCR pen. So if you start facing something like a RagingRaptor, which this very likely will, it will have quite a bit of issues to deal with it frontally, because 313 is a very low amount of pen. Go ask any chieftain player at the moment, like the premium, not the premium, the reward chieftain, not the loot box chieftain. It also, but what it has though is it has 2.5 seconds aim time, which is pretty quick for such a big gun. It has 0.38 accuracy, which is pretty good compared to these two. They all have 3 seconds and 0.4 accuracy, which, you know, is pretty good. And it has the button which allows it to have 60% better gun handling for 20 seconds, which is kind of crazy. Sure, the main problem is we don't know how good the gun handling is. We can just assume that, hey, it's a British vehicle, so it tends to have good gun handling. We don't know though. We do not know. Chances are though that they will be pretty decent in that regard. And it has 10 degrees of gun depression. The 60p, which in my opinion is still a tank which I believe is like pocket imba tank, like it's a really, really good vehicle in my opinion. And this, even the Schwertwal, which is an insane turret, they only have 8 degrees of gun depression. The Victorious will have 10, like the Super Conqueror, and it has 5 degrees better gun elevation. The only thing it doesn't have compared to Super Conqueror is hash. 70mm of pen ain't that big. I would have liked to see 100, would have been fun, or 140, but I guess then this vehicle would have been too broken. When it comes to mobility, here already I have the main gripes. It goes 37 top, 16 in reverse. This is better than these three vehicles, all of these three vehicles. It also has 15.1 HP per ton ratio, which is better than a Super Conqueror 60p and Schwertwal. Yes, Schwertwal has rockets, but he cannot turn them off. The Victorious, with the funny button, gets literally out of nowhere 48 kph top speed, 24 kph in reverse, and 1400 horsepower, and around, I assume, 20-ish HP per ton ratio. That's just an assumption. I didn't do the math there, sorry. Lads. Why does it need that? Like, it is already fast. It's already a fast hull down heavy, and it goes even faster, while also getting better gun handling. Huh? I don't know, man. Again, this is why I think this tank would be so well suited for Tier 11. It looks futuristic. It would work wonderful in Tier 11, especially with balancing the steps from not so good but funny button to actually decent funny button. But no, straight up, it's already an insanely good hull down heavy. Let's make it better. The only thing it doesn't have is TPM, basically. That's crazy. So yeah, the funny button takes 20 seconds in total. So you get 2 shots out of it if you want to. I'm still not sure if you could do it even better, because like if you activate it right before you shoot, like 1 second before you shoot, and then you have 17 seconds, so you do the second shot. No, you will always have maximum of 2 shots worth of insane gun handling. Okay, that's fair. I just quickly checked if it is minus or plus 60%. Maybe I would have coped too much, but no, it was minus 60%, not plus 60%. So yeah, I don't know, man. To me personally, it's crazy. Because on paper, at least as well, the armor looks pretty darn good. Why, do you might ask? Obviously, paper stats are always really, really hard to judge. The main thing is, it has 2,200 hit points, so oh no, it is the worst of the 3. It has 100 worse than Super Conqueror. That's still pretty decent though. You can get like 2,420-ish hit points with hardening, with normal hardening, which is pretty good. You have 400 meters of fuel range, which is crazy. Signal range no one cares about, but the armor. Look, they say on paper it has 299mm of turret front. That's probably right around these cheeks right here, which is also where the Super Conqueror's weak spot is. It has 280 on paper. Effectively, it's around 300-ish, 315 to 330, depending where you're hitting. So I assume this will be very similar with the Victorious as well. I'm not sure if this, how to say, a laser will be part of the, what's it called, armor model, which makes it a weak spot. I don't know. It's also hard to say if it has a cupola over here. I do see a commander gun, machine gun, so maybe it has a cupola. We don't know yet. But, like, I don't know. Just from the paper, the armor looks crazy. It also has 146mm in the front of the hull. However, it's tough to say if it's the upper plate or the lower plate. The lower plate is massive, so you have to play hull down with this vehicle. Side scraping might be okay-ish. I have to quickly check, because I'm not sure if we here have an angle. It doesn't look like it, but we will have an angle back here. It's the same weak spot the Raptor has, but it is quite a lot bigger, at least from the looks of it. So even if it has 83mm of side armor, that will negate this side scraping advantage with this vehicle. So, overall, Victorious, I don't know, man. It's a crazy tank. Looks crazy on paper. Looks insane. I do love the looks. I just don't agree with the tier. Should have been a tier 11. Hands down. So, Let's now have a look at the Petra. The Petra is now on Tier 8, not Tier 9 anymore. And it's kind of funny because it's this perfect tank where I always say, lads, this is the type of tank. Why is it on Tier 8? It would work so much better on Tier 9. And now Wargaming literally did that. They put it a Tier 9 tank and put it on Tier 8. So the main changes is they changed what the idea of the Petra was. Previously on Tier 9, they wanted it to be this tank which should always use the very quick taka gun, you know, double barrel gun. On Tier 8 though, they nerfed it quite a bit. Not only is the salvo charge up time double the length, it's not 1.5 but 3 seconds now. The lock time is not 2 seconds but 6 seconds. So even if you do a double shot, you have 20 seconds until you're reloaded, compared to the solid 13-ish or 14-ish. So yeah, they also nerfed the DPM quite a bit. It now takes 29 seconds to reload both guns compared to 23.6. What they also changed is obviously the penetration, go figure. It doesn't need an absurd amount of heat pen of 320. It goes down to 285, which I think is actually tier for tier better, because on tier 9 you have to fight Taschenrattens. So with the tier 8 only having 285, which will be enough against the mouse frontally, for example, should be fine. The base pen down 255 to 226, a little bit low, but for tier 8 heavy, it's average. The interesting thing is, yes, the accuracy went up, obviously. It went from 0.42 to 0.43. The gun impression went better. It went from -7 degrees to -10. What the hell? Why? And that's not all. Yeah, sure, mobility, tiny changes, 35 to 32, like nerfs you would expect. However, yes, 200 hit points less, makes sense. Still, 1,608 HP hit points, that's a lot. But what is even crazier is the whole armor from 155 goes up to 180? Huh? Why? And sure, turret armor goes down from 320 to 300 and side from 100 to 80, but that's whatever. These 20 millimeters don't make it that different because, hey, come on, the turret is still very strong with 300 millimeters of nominal armor. But why exactly does the armor go up? On the whole? Like, that just kind of feels like to me that Wargaming once again literally made a tier 9 tank on tier 8, giving it horrible gun handling, horrible gun feeling, but gives it crazy armor. Why? Like obviously I'm not in a super test, so I can't judge how this tank feels, and even if I would be in super test, I wouldn't be allowed to talk about it because that's how Wargaming rolls. Still though, it's such a weird decision. I don't know. In any case, these are the two vehicles we had today, the tier 11 on tier 10 and the tier 9 on tier 8. And thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. I know the video is worse quality than usually, but hey, again, it's sunny and vacation, and I still try to give you your World of Tanks needs. My name is RagingRaptor. Don't forget to subscribe, and I see you around.